Hey now, Rob here with Buhler Bros Flies for the Kern River Fly Shop. Today we're going to be tying up spiced up variation of a classic pattern, the Griffiths Gnat. The Griffiths Gnat imitates Diptera, which are two-wing flies like crane flies, mosquitoes, black gnats, and most regularly used to imitate midges or chironomids. And the great thing about the Griffiths Gnat is it's tied in larger sizes, so you don't have to imitate individual insects. It imitates groups or clusters of midges that are gathering together on the water's surface. So we'll take a look at the hook we're going to be using today. It's a size 14 dry fly hook. And we're using a Togans hook. Togans makes good quality hooks. Their size 14 dry flies are about the equivalent of a standard size 16. So this gives this one the hook shank of a 16, but a nice wide gape for a little extra hookup rate on your fish. The thread we'll be using is 8/0 uni thread. And we're going to attach that at about the 80% mark, a little bit further behind the eye than normal. Take a few thread wraps and then we'll trim our excess. And the next material will be the wire rib, extra small copper wire today. And we're going to get a little bit fancy and match that up with our abdomen material or our body material, which is going to be peacock herl. And you can use peacock eyes, which are a little higher quality material. Or today we're going to use bulk peacock, which comes in these larger packs, excellent for these Griffiths gnats. And we'll take the one strand of wire with 3 of those peacock herls and gather those together. And bring those in and trim those tips evenly for tie-in. And then we're going to set that up right on our side of the hook shank and take a couple thread wraps there to wrap that in and work our way back on the hook shank as we go. Right back to about the bend of the hook, and then we'll bring that thread right back forward to that original tie-in area at about the 80% mark. And we'll separate our copper wire here from our peacock herl. And then we're going to take, the peacock herl is really fragile, so we're going to take all 3 strands of that peacock herl and kind of twist them together in a little rope here. Take a few twists, and that'll strengthen that up. That'll wrap all those little stems together and strengthen up our base a little bit. And then we'll wrap those forward once we get a little rope going. And do one wrap right in front of the last, creating a little body here as we come forward. You can see how that's already creating a nice little buggy body. And then once we get up to that 80% mark, we'll leave our peacock herl hanging straight up and bring the thread up and over the back of the peacock. And then take one more securing wrap and we'll trim our excess. And next up we're going to wrap in our hackle. It's going to be a dry fly hackle, which is a rooster saddle. And this is a grizzly style. And it's whiting, which is really high quality. And we're going to measure it to, when we bend it around the hook, the tips will go just past the tip of the hook shank down here, or the gape. So maybe 1 to 1.5 times the gape of the hook. And then we'll prepare our tip by stripping off a little bit on the tip and preparing maybe 1/8 of an inch or a couple millimeters up there for tie-in. And we'll gather that at that 80% mark. And we're going to do a 1/2 hitch knot. If you have a rotary vise here, do a 1/2 hitch knot. If not, you can just wrap your hackle back by wrapping it around the shank. And we'll swing our bobbin cradle around. And that's going to hold our thread in place while we use our rotary function. And you can hold the hackle up straight and kind of twist it into place here. Start with one wrap in the front and then take spaced wraps as you go back through the body. It's going to get maybe 5 to 7 wraps through the body. And as we get to the back, do one more wrap. Hold that hackle straight up. Bring the wire up and over the top of the hackle and secure that tightly, holding the wire tight as you come around and grab it again on the other side. And do one more wrap with that wire right in the same spot on the back. That's going to really secure that hackle in and make a nice strong body. And then we're going to wrap the rotary vise, bring that back forward and do equal wraps with the rib coming up through that hackle up to that original tie-in area. And once you get to the front, you can kind of sweep that hackle back and bring that thread up and over our wire now to secure that in place. Swing the bobbin cradle out of the way. One more wrap around that wire, and we have that wire nice and secure. And we can trim the hackle at the back, and we can pop off the wire at the front. Just keep tension on that thread and put a little tension on the wire, and that'll usually pop off really easily. And we'll clean up the head a little bit. We're going to sweep back those hackle fibers and do a wrap or two of thread here to kind of clean everything up. And this is the standard Griffiths Gnat here. This is basically a finished Griffiths Gnat. We just finished a thread head. But we're going to kick it up a little bit. And we're going to add some crystal flash. And we're going to use a UV gray crystal flash today. You can use pearl or UV pearl too. That'll work great. We'll take about 6 strands of that crystal flash and trim the butts evenly. Bring that up in here. We're going to trim our butts evenly. And then a little tip here, we're going to drop that in place. We don't have a lot of room to work with here, and I don't want to leave any extra butts hanging off the front, so we're going to bring our thread and do what's called the up and between the fingers technique. Going to bring it up on the near side of the hook shank between the thumb and the index finger, over on the other side of the shank. Roll our fingers forward, pinch everything very tightly, and bring that thread down right on the other side of the hook shank on the opposite side of that crystal flash. And that's going to be a nice neat tie-in there for us, since we're running out of space up here. And our last material is going to be McFly Lawn, which is a polypro yarn. And this is a great material. It comes in a ton of fun colors for wing posts and different wings. And we're going to use a white today, just for a standard wing post on this one. And take about half the material that you want to use for your wing. Grab that between your thumb and index finger, and then pin that on your index finger, double over the material, and we're doing what's called a fold-in technique. And then you can slide this material into place anywhere you want on that hook shank. We're going to put it right behind the eye there. And then finish our wrap. Let's kind of sweep everything back out of the way and do a couple wraps up front. And then one wrap up over that polypro material. And finish our thread head up here. We have one errant fiber up there, but that's okay. And then we'll do 3 half-hitch knots, or you can do your whip finish, whatever's easiest for you guys. And this is, I'm going to be fishing this all throughout the winter on the kern to rising fish that aren't rising specifically for mayflies, and on the lower O as well. Oh, I just grabbed a couple fibers there, dang it. Let's trim that excess thread. And then we'll get in there and see if we can't trim some of those hackle fibers too. I wish I wouldn't have caught those, but it's okay. Clean that up. And then we're going to trim our wing at the back here. Right at the back of the hook. And you can trim along the top too to kind of flatten that out. And so the traditional cluster midge is going to have this wing on top, but it's not going to have that crystal flash underneath. The crystal flash is going to make this way fishier. You're going to catch a lot more fish with that, and you're not going to find this in your standard fly shops. And then we can just finish it up with a little bit of super glue or whatever your favorite head cement is. I've been using the Loctite super glue lately. Put a little bit of that on that head up there. And this will be locked up and good to go. So fishing this on the kern all winter long, lower O to rising fish, and hanging a lot of times a small midge or a small black fly larva behind it, maybe 6 to 12 inches. So hopefully you guys can tie some of these up, get out on the water during the winter, and catch some fish. Kern River Fly Shop, take care.